Everyone, believe in Bills. Post-game preseason game number 1, Buffalo 29, Carolina 14 to get the preseason going. First ever game at Highmark Stadium, the new Highmark Stadium. I'm Adam Benigni. Sal Maiorana is in the, well, tell us where exactly you are. You're adjacent to the new press box there.
I am, I'm in the press box. I'm just down from where I sit. I'm actually in the Spanish radio booth, Adam. I don't know how often they're going to be using the Spanish radio booth this year, but that's where I'm sitting because I can get some peace and quiet here. I can show you. I can't get the computer because there's no table, but there's the field right back over there. Yep. So
spin it a little more. Spin it a little more, man.
Right.
A little more. Show us the field.
Spin it a little bit more. Yeah, there it is. More. Can you see it? There you go.
It's an unobstructed view.
It's an unobstructed view up here. Yes, it's very nice. Very good view. Very happy with it. But because there's no table to put the computer on, I can't show you that background, so you're going to have to put up with me this way.
Well, it's early on. We'll work things out. We'll find, we'll improvise. Like a lot of what's going on there in that new building. And now you've had an open practice there and now a game itself. And stadium operations really weren't the story today. The Bills, speaking of working out the kinks, it seems like they've worked out a few of them under Joe Brady in the preseason so far. As preseason games go, albeit a small sample size, that went about as well as you could have expected, I think. Right?
Yeah, it really did. They came out. They were, mostly, there were 8 penalties, I think, but mostly mistake-free. I don't think the Bills had a turnover, right? I'm pretty sure. Offense came right out. Josh Allen and the starters played 2 series, scored on both possessions. And then the defense was out there for 3 series. And the reason they were out there for 3 series is because they dominated the Panthers and they went 3 and out on every one of them. So Brady said, yeah, go out there again. We need some more work. So really good. It couldn't have gone much better. As far as we know, no injuries. I mean, DJ Moore did get hurt, but Joe Brady said he thinks he's fine after the game. So yeah, all in all, Adam, I mean, you can start wherever you want here, but it was not a lot to complain about today if you're the Bills and if you're a Bills fan.
Now, if you look at that offense, especially, right, first couple of series, the way Allen moved the ball, confidence, timing, all of those things, familiar connections with, Khalil Shakir, obviously a little bit more downfield, which I like to see with that. Moore's contributions were obvious. And if you can add that dimension, that's what they're hoping for. And we saw good examples of that in this game. And then first ever touchdown is a guy by the name of Keon Coleman, right?
Yeah.
Who has been the king of the preseason in the past, right? Like eternal optimism when the games don't count. It changes when they do with him. We'll see if that trend reverses. But a lot to like in terms of, I mean, this is some of, I think, the continuity when you talk about promoting Joe Brady to head coach from offensive coordinator. Early indications of that continuity. It was pretty obvious early in this game.
Yeah. I mean, they just looked like they were almost in midseason form the way those starters played, and incorporating DJ Moore right away was nice. I think he had 3 for 61 in those 2 possessions. One was a 32-yarder over the middle. Somehow the Panthers lost coverage and he was wide open. Allen found him. The first catch was made by Shakir, 21-yard play over to the right side of the field. So yeah, everything looked like it was in sync. And then, Keon Coleman doing exactly what he's supposed to do because on that play, Allen had gotten pressured. He was actually, if I had one nitpick today, the offensive line wasn't great. The first string offensive line, Deion Dawkins had a penalty, which has become that's once a week with Deion these last couple of years. There was some pressure. Allen had to run around. Joe Brady did say that his heart skipped a beat a couple times because he did get sacked. He got sacked once and he was pressured at least 2 other times. On the touchdown, he got pressure. He ran around behind the line, and Keon did what he was supposed to do. He scrambled drill, find an open area, and he did, and Josh found him for the touchdown. So, Keon Coleman's name will go in the history books for all time. The first touchdown ever scored at Highmark Stadium. I'll never forget the first touchdown that was ever scored at the old place, Herb Mulkey. Kick returner.
That was a return.
Kickoff return on the opening kickoff, the first play ever in the stadium. I have no clue who else scored in that game, Adam. So I'm sure 53 years from now, everyone will know that Keon Coleman scored the first touchdown at Highmark Stadium.
Right.
So yay, Keon. He's going to have that moment for the rest of his life.
All right, so you've bookended it from the old place to the new one. Sal Maiorana, that's the constant that you were present and still are. I guess I think people would question what's the game plan for the starters, the rest of the way. It was important to Joe Brady to get them some work today, and I think there's good reason for that, right? Because you're going to have the joint practice with the Browns, where I think they'll get the majority of the work. That'll suffice. I'm not sure how much you're going to see Josh Allen the rest of the way in this preseason.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see him at all. That's why I think he played the 2 series today. I mean, Joe could have pulled the plug after the first series. It was a good drive. It stalled at the end. They settled for a field goal. But right there, I mean, they did everything they wanted to do. Cook actually got a couple touches on the first drive, I think. So, I mean, he could have pulled the plug right there, but he let him play the second series because I think he knows already Josh Allen and the first unit, they're going to get good work, like you said, in that joint practice against the Browns, which is controlled, so the quarterback can't get touched in that. So they'll do good work there. They're not going to play in the game. I highly doubt anybody will play in the Browns game, and certainly not in the finale, because that's always for, the backup guys to figure out the bottom of the roster. So I think you saw it today. Now, Josh didn't play one snap in the preseason last year. So this was a little bit of a bonus for Bills fans. And I think it was the right thing to do. A, it's Joe Brady's first game. B, it's the first game in the stadium. Let Josh Allen come out and be the guy who inaugurates the place. And I think they did it right. And they got him off the field after 2 scoring drives. And see you on whatever it is, September 13th.
Okay, so from a defensive standpoint, I mean, the bigger questions lie there, obviously.
Yes.
And, I think it's more of a question whether or not we see starters, in terms of what happens in Cleveland. I think time and scheme for Jim Leonhard is an important thing with a new coordinator and everything else. From what we did see from those starters today, though, man, I liked it. I liked the pressure that was generated up front, and I liked the support they got from the coverage, right?
Yeah.
I thought they complemented each other well, and understanding that neither game plan really doesn't much, though that term doesn't apply to any extent whatsoever when you're talking about a first preseason game. So you don't want to read too much into it. But I feel like it was quality work that Jim Leonhard would have wanted to familiarize and how to execute in that new scheme on the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, Leonhard had said last week too, he wanted his guys, the healthy, this is before Joe Brady told us the healthy guys were going to start. Leonhard already tipped the hand. And, he basically said the starters are going to play, and they needed to, Adam. I mean, they need to be out there because it is a brand new scheme, and guys are learning new roles. Guys like Greg Rousseau, it's a whole new role for him. So he needed to be out there with live bullets flying around, which was good for them. And you're right. I thought they played really well, and it was good because they started the game with 3 DBs on the sidelines, right? Max Hurston and both safeties, Bishop and Gardner Johnson, didn't play. So they had 3 backups out there. Benford was the only one. And then they went with the rest of the guys are the starting units. Deion Walker, he played 9 plays, and he was like noticeable on 3. He had 2 tackles, and he had a sack. He was great. I mean, he looked really good. I asked Brady about him after, and he said, yeah, that guy is going to be he's an emerging star, is basically what Brady said. So that was nice. It was good to see Terrell Bernard out there. He broke up a pass on 3rd down that got him off the field. I think it was the second possession for that. Walker's sack came on the last one. And something else happened in that early, I forget what it was, but guys just making plays. It was good to see there. It was interesting that Dorian Williams started the game in the first series. Immediately, Elam Zorr was in there for the second series. So that tells you right there, because the starters all played 3 series. Dorian Williams did not. So that's a battle. That's a battle that I think people are aware of. And I think we've all kind of thought, wow, Dorian Williams, it's his 4th year. He's going to be the starter. I would tap the brakes. I think Elam Zorr has a chance to win that job. Now, he did make a mistake. He got nailed for a pass interference in this game. But otherwise, I really didn't notice him. I saw him make a tackle on the far sideline, and it was actually after a guy had caught a pass. So I don't know if he messed up the coverage, but he cleaned up the play. But we've seen him in practice, Adam, do a lot of good things. I think he's firmly in the mix for that starting job.
Well, I mean, that storyline emerged really as they arrived in Rochester, right?
Yeah.
And maybe internally before that. But in Rochester, you could pick
Well,
up
yeah,
that
because
right
he got
right away.
plenty of work in the offseason. Remember, Williams missed a chunk of the offseason, and so did Bernard. So Elam Zorr was actually getting reps at both of those positions throughout the whole spring. So he came to training camp ready to roll, probably more ready than Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard, quite honestly. So yeah, you're right. It began back in the spring, but once they got to Rochester, we could see that, yeah, this kid's in the mix here.
And, so you talk about value in the draft, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people had a first-round grade on him. So, and they like his football instincts, his knowledge, his ability to communicate and do all those things. Yeah, I think he may be, if you're looking for players on the rise in the preseason or training camp or at this point, I mean, he might be near the top of the list for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
he's been turning heads, like I said, the whole spring and summer here. The games are gonna matter though. Like for instance, today he had a bad interference penalty. I don't know if it was his coverage, but the guy was behind him. He's trying to catch up, and he never really turned his head back, and he just bumped the guy as the ball came, and it was an easy call. So there's going to be things he'll have to clean up. The games will be important to him, and if he has any struggles in the games, I would think Leonard will play it safe and probably go with the veterans early on, but maybe he won't. maybe he's going to be really good from here on out in the last two games and he wins the job. It's very possible.
All right. So that clearly is a competition, as well as left guard, right?
Yep.
What can you tell us? I according to the game broadcast and Brandon Bean, they had talked to him and no one has separated, right, in terms of Alec Anderson or Corbett at this point.
Yeah, I can't hear the broadcast. I did see somebody tweeted that Bean said that. Alec Anderson started the game, and then the second series, Corbett was in there. So right there, it's clearly they're still battling. They each got one series with the full starting unit, and we move on from here. So I think those two guys, Adam, are going to play in the preseason, obviously, right? I mean, everybody else might get the time off on offense, or most everybody else. I think those two guys are going to have to play, maybe the first halves of the preseason games to get enough reps, because that's a position where you need some live bullets to make your final determination. So I think those two guys will play.
All right. Back to the defense. You mentioned Deion Walker. What did you think of Javon Solomon's game?
Yeah, he made I noticed him a couple times today. He's interesting in that he's the fifth guy, Adam, right? I mean, that's a crowded position with you've got Chubb and Rousseau starting. You've got Hoyt and TJ Parker, who, he's going to make the team. So you've got Javon Solomon and then Mike Dana, who had 2 sacks today. Mm-hmm. That's a guy, I don't know if I said it on the show. I know I wrote it, but Dana is, I think, kind of fighting for his life here. He came to the team late. He was a late free agent signing. He's a veteran guy, 2 Super Bowl rings, but he's at a really, really crowded position, and he doesn't play special teams as far as I know. I don't think he does. Javon Solomon does play special teams. So unless there's an injury, Dana is going to have to really work to make the team, and Javon Solomon is probably the guy he's competing with. So it was good for Solomon today to make a couple plays because he's in a battle here.
You mentioned Parker, strong first showing for him. Right? Had a sack?
He had a sack. I didn't notice him any other time, but he did. There was one of those, I think the quarterback kind of stepped up into the pocket, sort of right to him. I don't think it was a situation where he beat his guy clean. Like Dana, both of Dana's sacks, he beat the tackle clean and got around the edge. That was kind of a step into the pocket. Hello, TJ Parker was right there, but he finished the play. So good. It was a sack.
All right. Let's talk about Joe Brady a little bit. First game as head coach, promoted from offensive coordinator. I listened to a little bit of his post game. We had begun to address this on our previous take, and then and restarted our recording for technical reasons. But I wanted to get into this a little bit. It's clear that he's working through and trying to fine tune some things. He talked about where do I stand. The buttons on the headset, how they set those up, what the communication is going to be. I mean, I find it interesting that they're using this time to work through all of that stuff in a new role for him. The challenge of still calling the plays. And then there was the challenge, which you had said prior that they were just going to do that anyway, just to kind of test communications and work through everything in the new stadium in an actual game situation, which I have no problem with it. I mean, that's what this is for. I have
Yeah, exactly.
zero issue with that.
They were up big in the game. It didn't matter that they were going to lose the challenge, and it was a fumble. It was pretty clear that the guy was down, but Brady said, actually, Josh Allen said after that he admitted that he goaded them into doing it. So Brady did, and they lost the challenge. But he just wanted to get the communication aspect of it worked out a little bit. Allen talked about coming in here, making sure he knows where the play clock is and the surroundings, and where is Joe Brady on the sideline now? Because it used to be Brady was in the press box, so Allen was looking for somebody else on the sideline. So getting those little quirks out, and they've got 4 opportunities. Well, 2 down now with 1 practice, 1 game. They still have a practice Tuesday and a game next week here. By the time week 2, September 17th rolls around, Adam, it'll be old hat for these guys. Allen even said this is like going into a road stadium.
Sure.
Every week on the road, you got to figure out where you are and where the play clock is and all that stuff. They're just doing it at home for a couple weeks because it's a new place. So it's not a big deal. People, I think that stuff gets way overblown. The media asking questions about. I'm like, come on. I mean, this it's not that difficult to figure out.
Well, look, I mean, it's a huge shift for the community, right? For fans, the game day experience, all that's gone into this, the history, politically, what's taken place off the field in order to get the thing done. I mean, it's a massive shift for the community from the big picture right down to parking lot access and all of that. I haven't asked you about that. I mean, there's differences. Everyone's got to figure it out. I mean, it's just a big transition for everyone involved. The players, though, as you mentioned, they go into new and different stadiums all the time. Yeah. I mean, they do. I mean, that stadiums that, quite frankly, are a lot more elaborate than this one, or significantly more. So
it's not a big...
for them, it's not. I mean, getting used to the turf is probably, the biggest thing. How the wind is actually going to impact things in there. There are still some unknowns, but as far as adjustment or the Bills' ability to be in top form for the home opener against the Lions, I don't think there's anything standing in their way in that regard.
No. Plus, they're going to have a game. They're going to have a week 1 game on the road to work out some of the kinks too. So they'll be ready to roll when they get in here for the first time in a game that matters. So, but it's good. It's good that they had the opportunity to break the place in a little bit. It's been nice.
So further down the depth chart, later in the game, players or plays that kind of stood out to you as we begin to evaluate what the 53 is going to look like.
Yeah. Connie Walker, cornerback rookie, was hurt during the week. Wasn't sure he was even going to play. He was in the right spot at the right time, made an interception late in the game, which was good. I saw a couple guys, Ian Wheeler, the running back who they signed out of the, what league is that? The spring league, United Football League, whatever that.
Yeah, I think that's
whatever
right.
That spring league is. He's on the team right now. Ty Johnson's hurt. So Wheeler's getting some reps in practice. Who knows? Maybe he can make the practice squad. I don't know. We're not really sure what Ty Johnson's injury or how serious it is. I don't think it's serious, but he had an opportunity to do something, scored a touchdown late in the game. A couple of defensive guys have looked pretty good out. Jordan Hancock stood out to me. He made a couple great plays down on the goal line here. First half, he shoots off the slot and knocked a guy down for a 4-yard loss. Then he read a pass out in the flat in the third quarter, came screaming up. It was the same guy and same 4-yard loss. So really 2 nice plays by him. He's, and Brady called him a chess piece. He's kind of a guy they can use in different situations, a lot like Jalen Kilgore, the rookie.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up. I think
they have an idea that both of those guys can really be players they can move into a bunch of different positions. Kilgore got some good playing time today with, the 2 starters being out. Geno Stone and Hamlin started the game, but then Kilgore played, I would guess, I don't know for sure, but he probably played about 2.5 quarters. So that's really good work for him to get in. I saw him make 1 good play, and I saw him make 1 poor play, but he's a rookie in his first game. So all learning experiences. So yeah, it was a good, they got everybody in, I think, that they wanted to. Good first day of work here.
All right, 29-14 win over the Carolina Panthers, 1-0 in the preseason, 1-0 in the new Highmark Stadium preseason record for the Buffalo Bills. And up next now, joint practice with the Cleveland Browns. So take us through, if you can, to the extent you know the schedule. And I know that it's generally been announced and maybe some other nuances to it. Map out the week ahead for the Buffalo Bills.
He said that Monday's practice might be a walkthrough, and then they're going to have the live practice in here Tuesday morning. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a morning. So if you're coming, get up early because you're going to have Buffalo rush hour traffic plus game traffic. So that might not be too fun of a commute, but they're going to do that. Take Wednesday off to travel to Cleveland, and then they're going to have the joint practice with the Browns at their facility. I think that's going to be Thursday morning. I'm not going. I'm taking the week off next week, Adam. So no football for me. Hopefully I'm going to become a grandfather early next week. So I'm staying home. So I won't be in Cleveland. I'll do the game off the TV, which is Saturday night. So that's kind of the schedule for next week. It's going to be a good week for them because it'll be good to have the practice in here. And then the joint practice, I always say the joint practices are better in many ways than the preseason game, right? Because they can structure exactly what they want to work on with a script. There's no like today, right? Three and outs for the Panthers offense. I'm sure Dave Canales was not happy that his first string offense only played 9 snaps. Now, yeah, he could have put them out there more, but why, right? So game flow can really screw up what you want to get accomplished in a preseason game. In a joint practice, everything's scripted. They're going to work on exactly what they need to work on.
You know, there isn't a coach that I've come across in all my years that hasn't said that exact same thing, that they get way more in terms of exposure for the players, in terms of player evaluation, virtually every variable. They would opt for a joint practice than over a preseason game. In fact, it was one of the justifications from a practical standpoint. I mean, obviously the expanded schedule, excuse me. But taking the preseason down to 3 games, you know, in terms of developmental value and determining your roster and all, the immediate, they just turn to the fact that, well, I mean, these joint practices are becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, and they're getting more out of that than they would an additional preseason game where they used to. So, I mean, what you're going to see this week is an obvious trend that has exploded across the National Football League.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but it feels like just about every team is doing this year. I think just about every team is doing a joint practice with somebody for all the reasons you just said. It's just they took that 4th preseason game away, which was always, if you remember the old schedule, the 3rd preseason game, the starters would maybe play a half, right? And that was the last big exposure before the regular season. The 4th game was always going to be rookies, young guys, bottom of the roster. Well, now that's the 3rd game. So there is a lot less work for the starters in the preseason. So the joint practices give you an opportunity to do that. Plus it keeps your quarterback safe.
Yeah,
you know,
it does.
Everybody else is in harm's way because it's live contact. And I think there will be some tackling, but the quarterbacks can stay safe. So coaches definitely like that.
Well, I mean, if you go to one of these things, the intensity is way up. You bring another team into a practice. I remember
last year.
Go ahead.
Last year in Chicago, there was some chirping going on. There was a lot of pushing and shoving. It was pretty chippy. So yeah, I can remember that.
But all those years ago down in Latrobe, this was during like the sale. And so it was before the pre-Pagula era, right? Yeah. But I remember we went down to Latrobe, and within 2 or 3 plays, there were fights on the field. Like instantly, the Steelers safeties came out popping. You know, it was really super intense. So I think like the coaching staff likes that environment, right? As long as it doesn't get out of control and it lead to injuries. But that intensity, that environment where you can evaluate your players, particularly down your depth chart, against opposing players that they don't typically see, against somebody else, it's invaluable.
Yeah, they get sick of beating on each other. That's why they enjoy, getting in these preseason games. But same thing, same idea for a joint practice. It's a new guy in front of you and a guy that you're not supposed to like. All right, so fingers crossed for you and your family. Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll be calling you Grandpa Sal here.
Looking forward to it, Adam.
Yeah, we'll do something midweek. But obviously, we'll have like a reserve situation lined up, so you can rotate out for obvious reasons. And we'll definitely talk to you post game after they face Cleveland.
Okay.
All right. So for Sal Maiorana, I'm Adam Benigni. 29-14, Buffalo Bills over the Carolina Panthers in preseason game number 1. FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show and others here on the Believe network of podcasts. Bills still right in the running. Los Angeles Rams at plus 500, looking toward the Super Bowl winner for this year. Seattle Seahawks have pulled even now with the Bills, both plus 1,100. Baltimore Ravens at plus 1,200. So that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thanks for being with us here on Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.